Is this thing on?
We're here. Hi guys, my name is Shakira and this is the Voided Voice podcast. um, this is new to me and I'm nervous and I'm not afraid to say that. This is the first time that I've ever stepped out and done something literally on my own. If you're watching this, you're probably wondering where are the other two people. This isn't Underground Sandbox. This isn't her making music. This isn't her writing poetry. This isn't her playing music on an instrument. This is just her. And hi. Um, Before I even get into the first episode, I just want to touch on what this is. So, rewind. Last time you guys saw me, I was 3 episodes in to Underground Sandbox on a whole different YouTube with 2 of my close friends, and it was actually going really good. But I know that I wanted to talk about more. I wanted to be myself, and this is something I had to do. One thing about me, I've always been a person that's been a recluse. I never really put myself in the forefront, and all of my creative ideas I've always tried to push on other people. So a lot of my children, my ideas, I've always told a friend, hey, do this so that, I don't have to be here. I don't have to do this. And I was very uncomfortable with just putting myself out there because a lot of times when I speak or I'm just myself or I'm just being me, it's not received well. I'm always being perceived and I overanalyze things and then I just trash it. Like some of you guys who probably follow me on SoundCloud for years. I post my music, I delete it, I pop out, I do a freestyle, I delete it, archive it, go about my business, post my poetry, delete it, go about my business. And it's very easy to do things like that and abandon the ideas or just trash them because you're never having to physically put yourself here. But it's different when you're in front of a video and people are paying attention to your body, how you speak, your eyes, they're the windows to your soul. They can see the insecurity, they can see the dishonesty, they can see the uncomfortableness. So yeah, I'm doing something for me, for once. Now, when I came up with Voided Voice, it was a couple years ago. I actually had it as a poem, and it was sitting in my Google Docs. And I was like, I want to talk about music, but I feel like people don't hear me. I want to bring back old journalism that I appreciate, like Lala Anthony on MTV, the new segments that they used to have on artists behind the music, behind the scenes, all of that stuff, but make it me. One thing I miss about the older days, being younger and seeing that shift in the culture, it being magnified in such a open way, was the honesty, seeing the growth in artists, understanding the contrast between their music and themselves. And I just want to bring that back because a lot of mainstream podcasts have stemmed so far away from it, and the culture is just, it's not there. It's not there. It's over sexualized. All it's about is drama and the personal lives of artists. But let's talk about the comparisons between the artists and the things that we're seeing in the news. We don't know these people for real. And I can't sit here and talk about a person when all I know is their music. So I was like, create something where people that I feel are not valued, appreciated, spoken enough about, are given their just due. And that's what I decided to do, and that's why we're here. And I hope that I'm consistent with this. And I hope that the spirit of fear leads me and I continue on with this because I feel like this is going to be a great theme. And I want to interview artists. I want to talk about songs. I want to analyze lyrics and kind of dive into the fantasy or the alter ego of who they say they are versus the artists that they portray. So yeah, welcome to the Voided Voice Pod. And I'm your host and creator, Shakira. Peace. And here's the episode.
Day leggy from the swamp water, sink through all that fuck shit. Bitches always tryna run up, I'm too far, couldn't touch this. Cash out, gon' crash.
Hey you guys, my name is Shakira and this is the Voided Voice Podcast. We're finally here, we're finally doing it. Before I get into today's episode, I just want to make one thing clear. We gotta start it off right? Yeah. So, we're starting it off with someone that is from my home state of Florida. I'm so sorry to my Georgia friends. That's where I'm from. I have to do this. So, born on January 23rd, 1998, he is an Aquarius, and he had quite the music career. Unfortunately, he is no longer with us in the physical. But during the short time that he was here and he was able to share his gift with the world, not only was he one of the most consecutive artists, I would say, of our generation, but the music that he contributed to this world created a whole entire different subculture and genre for South Florida culture. And it's only right that we start off with him, don't you think? Yeah. So the artist that we're talking about today is XXX Tentacion. I always say it wrong. With ties to Ski Mask, Danny Towers, DJ Ski, Denzel Kurt, who else? The list goes on, right? Wi-Fi's Funeral, Members Only, all everybody. He is what I would say is the glue for Broward County. When you talk about Rolling Loud, you have to talk about him. You have to talk about Ski. You have to talk about the people that kind of put it on and still get love till this day. Now, what blew my mind was when I first found out about X, I personally wasn't a fan. Were you?
Yeah.
You were?
Yeah.
I wasn't. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know much of him. I'm from Dade County, Florida. Broward's right there, but like the artists that I listened to from Dade versus the music that he contributed were just two completely different styles. And I grew to appreciate it because one of my closest friends, she loves him. Till this day, loves him. Now, in 2013, he actually did start his music career. He had a debut song called News Flock. Right after that, 2014, uploaded his first song to SoundCloud called Vice City. 2015, he was on fire. He released 2 albums, Members Only Volume 1 and Volume 2 with Ski Mask. Then he went on to found Members Only and Ski did Very Rare. Is that correct? If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But this is my research. And then the following year, in 2016, he released the song Willy Wonka Was a Child Murderer. And also the song that catapulted him to instant success, Look at Me Now, which ended up getting him on the US Billboard charts. Now, one thing about X that I definitely could say I appreciate was, for example, the Willy Wonka Was a Child Murderer. He wasn't afraid to say these very bold statements that just like made someone do a double take. Like, what do you talk about? What's going on? It's very rare you find artists that just don't give a fuck. We trying to get monetized, so we ain't gonna curse for it. But yeah, he just didn't give a F, like, at all. And once I digged into who he was, I kind of started to like him. I was like, yeah, this is a Florida guy right here. I am a supporter. After he blew up off of Look at Me, right? In 2017, he released his first studio album, Revenge. 2018, unfortunately, he was shot to death in Deerfield, Florida. And, his posthumous album was released in 2019, as well as Members Only Volume 4, and that album was Bad Vibes Forever. It's sad to see just how much someone can contribute and give when they know their God-given purpose in this world, and to see it taken ever so quickly. Because think about it, what artist did you know dropped project after project, hit after hit? I'm talking about like just back to back to back, like that.
It ain't a lot.
And then when I went back and I looked at like all of his videography, like I saw like just how he presented himself on stage. It's like one of those dare I say, like DMX, Beyonce effects, where it's just like you know how to command a stage. I believe in artist development, yes, but I feel like star presence, the it factor, is something that can't be taught. And that boy had it. He had it. And to literally see that, and it's so sad that I became a fan too late, because went back, saw the Rolling Loud videos, just saw how he commanded a stage. Getting crowds to engage in this day and age is just, it's hard. It's hard. When you see the content that's being pushed out, and you see the crowds and the demographic that's in those crowds, it is hard to get a rise out of them. So to create phrases like open the pit and all that, I want to say it was openly contributed to him. That wasn't like a big thing until Rolling Loud Festival, in particular, that group, X, Ski, and all them, doing all those songs, having that presence. And it's just sad. Like, I don't know too much about the drama that ensued after he passed, but I do remember there was a lot of like discourse between Members Only, Ski, all of them boys, and it was sad to see, because it seemed like X he did bring together a lot of people in such a short amount of time, and the status they were able to bring themselves in that short time span was crazy. Because when you think about it, the music he created, right, it wasn't your typical Fast Money, Naked Hustle, Iceberg Trina, Plies, Rick Ross type music. It was literally soft rock infused with hip hop. Who was doing that in South Florida? Nobody. And then you don't have venues as is down south for a lot of Florida hip hop artists, let alone rock artists. You got, your Spanish music, reggaeton, all that. You have your hip hop culture, but there's a very small circle of gatekeepers and people that contribute to that, and it's very tight knit. So to see someone literally just break the gate down and say, you know what, I'm taking over this. I'm doing what I want to do, and I don't give no F's. And it was breathtaking. It was breathtaking when you, as a person that became a fan after, looking back and seeing like, oh, this is why they do this now. This is why they have these shows in the warehouses and all that, because of him. He was doing that. It's wild. And I think being from Florida gave me a deeper appreciation of him as an artist, So I just wanted to talk about like his earlier music. I know that Platt, you were saying that he had like a distortion in his older music. I feel like that contributes to like not having access to like industry standard mics and stuff like that. So you gotta play around with like the sounds of the music that you have. So that distortion, I feel like, came from like those what they call it, the Yeti mics or whatever. But those mics had like this rasp in it that was like hard to escape. I don't know what he used or like where he was recording, but I know the reverb probably contributed to that, because if you were like in a space where like a closet or something like that, it's kind of easy to have like that grunge kind of sound. And if that is the case, then he did very well with the little that he had, because even his older music still sounds great to me. It literally does. But a lot of people talk about things that he did as a human and how he, had his run-ins with the law. He had DV cases, he had robbery cases, temperament, behavior issues, all of that. And it's just crazy to me how people just don't look at the bad side of humanity. Like, we're human. Regardless of what we do, we're human, good or bad. But I just want to know, why do people try to focus or hone into that? Because when he passed, I remember on my timeline, people were saying, oh, don't feel bad about what he did. He deserved it. Well, damn. Your daddy was beating on your mom, bashing her head in. But I'm pretty sure if he dropped dead right now, you'd probably be crying over that man too. So I never understood that. I feel like when people pass, there has to be a certain level of respect. And when he passed, it was just so sad to see the very thing that he tried to keep together literally throw smite on his name. because watching some of those lives, going back and looking at like, you know, the disputes with those members and seeing where they are now, it's just like, damn, like, were you guys really for him? Now, one thing I can't say, I would never question Ski actually loving him. I got gifted tickets to a Ski concert back in like 2019, and I went, and I think, did Juice WRLD die in 2019? Yeah, it was literally a concert right after Juice passed. It was in Miami. I went. I discovered that every show, Ski has this segment where he dedicates, like, you know, what do they call it? He dedicates a portion of the show, yeah, a tribute to X, and, you know, he does the songs, he does all that. And there was this heavy presence of, like, grief, but also, like, this enjoyment of life that was there. And a lot of people talk about, like, celebrations of lives and stuff like that, but that man really celebrates his life, and that is the one constant person that I've always seen, even to this day, that will always show love and it will never speak ill on him. And I respect that, because a lot of people find themselves speaking ill on the dead, and look where it gets them. Like Drake, for instance, since we're gonna go ahead and have a little sidebar about that. When I did my Googles and I saw all the X references from the videos to the little below the neck, you deserve what's going on right now. You do not speak ill of the dead. Is it a Jamaican thing to not speak ill of the dead? Or is it just like...
It's a humanity thing. I feel like
because I don't speak ill of the dead. I don't even like talk about the dead for real. That's just me. I don't. So for you to even play like that, even if it was just for marketing and you were not beefy with this man, that to me is so disrespectful and crazy. And another thing, do you think he was fucking them dogs?
Most definitely.
You think he was having sex with dogs?
It's dirty, bro. Of course.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. Drake gives me pencil dick energy. I don't know. That's just the vibes I get. Any nigga that takes those pics and got a BBL, I'm sorry. I feel like you got pencil dick energy. You tuck your shit between your motherfucking legs and you wear a motherfucking G-string on a low. And then you ever peep in his photos, he does the duck lips.
Mm-hmm.
BBL Junior. Anyways, fuck you, sir. Sorry, never really liked you. See, I have good discernment. I gotta say that. I got some good discernment because I never took to the man.
Yeah.
I even went to one of his concerts. I tried to be a fan, but I just, something wasn't connecting. And now that I know, because, anyways, back to X, right? I feel like X was one of those rare conditions where he didn't have a gimmick, he didn't have a marketing scheme, he was just his brazen, domineering self, and it worked for him. And I'm glad that things played out the way that it did for him. As far as him getting on, you know, even though him sharing himself with us, he didn't really get to reap the fruits of his labor. It seemed like he did a lot and he knew what his purpose was, and I'm glad that it was fulfilled, you know. And then to know that your parents will forever live on through your music, you know, they'll be able to eat, your siblings and stuff. And yeah, like that's the one thing when celebrities die and they leave behind kids, it's just like, ooh, it's like, ooh, because I don't have a dad, right? So I can only imagine not having my father, right? And it's not like he decided to leave, he was killed, right? And then you're getting older. The little boy looked just like him, literally his twin. And then you go and you listen to the music and you watch the videos and you see parallels of yourself, and his son now has to sit there and wonder, like, dang, like, you know, it makes me want to cry. But it's just like, damn, I really wish well towards his son, all of his genuine friends, and his family, man. Like, even, you know, Geneva, the girl that went through all that, because nobody talks about how she was impacted by that stuff. I don't know the full story of any of that because I didn't really care to get into like the opinions of others because I didn't want to become biased. I wanted to be at a neutral standpoint where it's like, okay, I can see the humanity in this nigga, but I can see he did some wrong. He fucked up. You know? And as long as he apologized to that girl, I don't understand why the hell y'all still having discourse about it on Reddit and Twitter. It don't make sense to me. Y'all don't know these people for real. Anyways. Yeah. As I was thinking about the SoundCloud era, right? And how these artists were able to amass like all this stuff, he really was a pioneer of this shit. Like he was. You will never see another run like that SoundCloud run when you think about it, you know? And he did what needed to be done. But you know, when I dived into like his music, right? And the type of content that he talked about, I couldn't help but think about mental health issues. I felt like there was a clear growth between the older music versus the music towards his later years. The earlier years, it seemed like he was dropping songs where it was just like, oh, we're having fun, we're turning up, like drug-induced music, things that kind of got you in a state of rage or just got you amped up. And then it transitioned into these mid-tempo songs where we talk about inner feelings, man versus self, man versus man, and how do we overcome these things? How do we dive deeper into these feelings? And I always wondered, after he dropped Jocelyn Flores, right? Let's think about how traumatic that situation was. You're coming off the situation with DV and people are getting on you about that. Then you have, you know, the issues with your bandmates. And then you also have your internal issues, right? Your fan comes to commit suicide in a hotel room. You drop a song about it. People blame you. I don't know who this man was signed to, but to my artists out there that are signed, if anybody that is signed watches this, do your labels provide you with mental health services or resources, or do they have some sort of prerequisite where you guys are able to actually sit down and talk to someone about these things? Because when you think about it, for a label, you are an asset. The artist is an asset. And what is an organization's purpose, right? Is to protect their assets. So how are we protecting the investment and ensuring that they're fulfilling their goals for the organization, the company, while still ensuring that they're at their pinnacle? I would think it's only right that if you're going to sign artists that are talking about mental health, violence, and, you know, disparities within the urban community, minorities, things of that nature, hard topics, hard shell topics that actually influence the actions of others, don't you think that labels should provide that?
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't make sense to me how you pick up kids off the street. You know, they make great music, but you're like, okay, go ahead, crash out. But as long as you come and you bring us this money. Like, look at these artists that take drugs and do all these things and talk about these subjects. What if they want to evolve from that, but they can't? And think about the artists who go through mental health issues like the Juice WRLD and the X's. How do we help them? We just let them literally crash out until they're not here anymore. Why did X not have a financial advisor or some? I don't know if he had one, but why did he not have someone that said, hey, you know, I think you should move like this with money, or someone to steer him in a direction where it's like, you know what, we're gonna focus on bettering you as a person, not just as an artist. Artist development is one thing, but you have to have that guiding force there. These labels ain't doing it like they used to. There's no humanity in this shit, and that's just something to me that I see that it irks my nerves. Cause back then you'd hear Usher talk about, you know, L.A. Reid when he was going through puberty and the label was gonna drop him. He said, no, I'm gonna cultivate you. I'm gonna build you up to something. We're gonna work on your voice and we're gonna build you up, man. Not on no artist development type shit, but because I see something there with you. Even with New Edition and Bobby Brown, nigga got dropped from the label, started getting into a life of crime, lost friends. Literal head of the label came, hey man, your mama called me and said, hey, you ain't living right. So let's go ahead, let's film this out, let's do this album and do what we gotta do. Why is that not a thing anymore? Why do these artists not get that type of treatment and love, especially now that the subjects are so much harder to dissolve amongst the community, bro? Like, that shit is sad to me. And it's something that I will never, ever, ever agree with. If artists are not providing those resources at no additional cost, that should not be coming out of anybody's budget. Because if they're your asset, you're in any company, you're gonna take the resources and the money and the profits that you make, and you're gonna set something aside to secure your assets. And that shit ain't right to me. And another thing, like with his death, right? When I went to that concert, the Ski concert, and I saw the energy there and how they were affected by like the deaths of X, Juice, things like that, I still have that question of, you know, like, do the labels put in on that? But then I also have like another question, right? Like, how do you, as a person, like, heal from that? Like, outside the music, like, what do you do? Because you have all these yes men, fake love, and people around that don't mean well. How do you get past that? How do you heal from that in the spotlight? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna get deep. And then a question to y'all out there before I go, like, do you feel like artists know, like, when you're gonna pass? Like, look at the subject matter, the music, the creative directing that he contributed to in his years right before he passed, right? The Moonlight video, it was sad. He creative directed it, and yeah, he creative directed it, and it just seemed like he knew he was losing the battle of man versus self. And it has crazy parallels to his influence, which is Pac. I just want y'all to think about that. Because to me, I feel like life and death are in the power of the tongue. And although he might have manifested it, which he didn't really all too much, I feel like people that are musically inclined, creatively inclined altogether, they have this closer connection to spirituality. I don't know the science behind it, but I strongly believe it. But I want to say, before I close this out, one song that I will always love by him is Sad. Who am I? Someone that's afraid to let it go. Suicide, if you ever try to let go. Yeah. So, rest in peace, X. I send all my love to his friends, his family, everybody out there who supports him, loves him, all the people that have been directly influenced by him. I know it's hard when you lose someone that you can relate to, and relativity is the connection of all things in this universe. So with that being said, thank you for entering the void, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and until next time.
All right, so episode over.
Okay.
First one down.
Woo! Many more to go.
One question I want to ask: How would you say that his music impacted you personally?
As far as his music, I feel like he straddled the fence between fighting his internal demons and being able to like see the good within himself. And it's very rare that you see artists talk about that, or even just touching on their imperfections. When you hear music now, especially rap, it's more so, oh, I got this, I got that, I'm the best person in the room, I could do this, I'm the top dog. And for him to put himself on ground level and be able to look outside of himself and have self-awareness, it makes me want to do the same, listening to his music. And also just the honesty and embodying who you truly are. Because although flawed, I feel like personally, he was a very strong person and he did not hide his dominance. It was very apparent in the music and also on the stage. And I will always respect that about any artist that can truly be vulnerable, especially when it comes to love and imperfection. So that's how he impacted me.
What your name is? You know my body, I ain't even gotta say shit.